Welcome to our podcast on Automotive SPICE. Today's focus would be on what exactly is an assessment. My name is Christoph Ebert, I'm the Managing Director of Vector Consulting Services, and we will show with this podcast experiences from our different global consulting projects with respect to how do we conduct an assessment, how does the rating work, what is this strange thing called capability level, but we will also show practically what is a typical setup of such an assessment in terms of timeline, and we will give a brief look into our assessment tool Compass. Now the ASPICE is structured according to different capability levels. In the previous podcast I explained about the architecture of ASPICE, also the rating with the capability levels and their impact. So let us have a short look. The basis is the ISO 3320, which gives us a lineup of 6 capability levels. 0, which means incomplete, this is the starting point. There's nothing really to tangibly measure, it's just the way we work. Then performed means that we look onto what is the technical contents of a given process. Then we look onto the sustainable implementation, repeatability of the process. This is managed. Then we look on a defined process. That means that new engineers work the same way as their colleagues. This is the defined process on capability level 3. Then we look into quantitative improvement with statistically improvement, which means predictability on level 4. And finally, the continuous improvement, which is the innovation, as we call it, in terms of new things are digested organically without any big hurdle as you would see it on the lower level. A majority of the companies today is somewhere on level 1 and 2. We consider that level 2 is a good basis to get projects out of the door. It is a minimum which we consider relevant in terms of product liability. The clear recommendation is level 3, because if you have safety critical products where you have to fulfill, for instance, also the ISO 26262, then the state of the practice demands a lot of the elements which are not fulfilled only by having a performing process, but you need to have a defined process in order to prove that you have everything in place for systematic traceability, measurement, verification, etc. Now the rating itself is always done on 4 stages. Fully achieved, that means we have all the ingredients applied. Largely, partially not achieved. And this is something which I want to show in a more practical situation, which is a set of processes which we look into: software detail design, architecture design, requirements analysis, architecture analysis, system requirements analysis, and supplier monitoring. And then we get typically a rather colorful picture, which means some of our process attributes are completely fulfilled, which is fully and green, some are largely, some are partially, and maybe some are even not fulfilled. So what does it now tell us from perspective of capability level? The capability level is an end combination of all attributes of the next lower level must be on fully achieved, that means green. The process attributes of the level itself, if you for instance strive for level 2, then these generic practices must at least be on the level of largely or also fully. In other words, there's nothing allowed which is partial or which is none. And this would then allow us to rate a given capability level. And if we now take these processes based on the previous picture, then we can see the supplier monitoring comes to the level 3, because here we could see everything on level 1 and 2, this is the lower level, was green, and number 3 was yellow, which is that we can still have this supplier monitoring on a level 2 with respect to the previous ingredients, and we have then also largely, which allows us to say it is fulfilled on level 3. Different picture for this system requirements analysis. Here we have on the lowest level only a largely, so obviously we will not be able to give any higher ranking, and this applies now for all the other examples as well. This being said, let us look into how does an assessment really look like. And here's a short timeline which exemplifies how it is typically set up. Obviously, we start somewhere before the assessment with initial planning, with an agreement, what should be assessed. But then we look to the precise assessment and we find out it's not really a lot of time which we need. We typically set it up in a way that we take 2 weeks, some preparation, then we start with intensive document collection. We look into the different documents, precisely process documents and product documents, that means real work artifacts which come from the project. And then we also have to evaluate versus the requirements from ASPICE, because at the end of the day we have to achieve this fully, largely achieved, or maybe also something which is on a lower level, like partially or not. It's like in school, if you have your school exam, then you would not accept if the teacher simply tells us it's a grade good or bad or average. You want to know the details so that you can improve. And these details should be well justified. In order to have these details well justified in an assessment report, which we can also give, for instance, to your customer, we recommend tool support. And over the past 10 years, we have created our Compass, which is a comprehensive assessment tool, just in order to facilitate a strong, solid and systematic assessment based on a clear methodology, but also with output which you can directly put with your company logo into, for instance, your customer reporting. But you can also, and this I think is most important, give the result to different engineers, project managers, process managers, senior management, in order to achieve the improvement which is necessary to continuously ramp up. So a tool like our Compass will definitely help you to make the assessment more professional, more systematic. And if you want to have more information, it's on www.werk.com/compass. And with this information, you have now some idea about how the assessment runs. We have looked into the rating, we have looked into how to achieve a capability level, we have looked into the timeline, which is the typical 2-week plus minus a time frame depending on the size, on the geographic distribution, etc. And we have looked into professional tool support. So we recommend that you stay tuned, and of course we wish you a good success with your ASPICE-based process improvement. Contact us if you need any further information, if we can facilitate an assessment on your site, or if we can help you with your improvement projects. We do that worldwide, we do that in many setups, mostly virtual, that means in a distance setup. So there are different ways possible which are efficient, which are straightforward, and which don't really strangulate or impact in a negative way your operational projects, which of course is very important. Thank you very much and stay tuned.